see, no music. Right, that's better. It's a bit loud.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Never a Straight Answer, the podcast that aims to cover a wide range of topics from conspiracy theories to popular culture and news. I'm your host Gaz, and joined in the studio by remote satellite link-up. Some people call him the Space Cowboy, some people call him the Gangster of Love. We just know him as Taylor. Put your hands together for Mr. T!
Hey!
How's it going, Mr. T, fella?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, man. Yeah, it's fucking still in lockdown. It's got the word in it, hasn't it? Lockdown. It's getting to me a bit now.
It's getting a bit too much down now.
Oh, mate. Yeah, well, it's just too long.
But it's needed, though.
What?
Don't want to walk out and then start all over again.
Definitely needed, and I think at the moment, considering like here in the UK, apparently we've just got over the hump, got over the curve. So that's a pretty good sign that everything's on the road to recovery again. So let's hope so. Other than that, what have you been up to, Mr. T?
Sleeping.
Yeah, me too. You and me both, bro. I literally spent about 20 hours in bed the other day. I went, what have I got to get up for, man? Just serious.
It's not the waking up that's the problem, it's trying to get to sleep.
Waking up is hard to do.
30 hours I've been putting in. 30 hours.
30-hour sleeps? That's
no,
over.
30. 30, not clean.
Oh, yeah.
30 hours.
He's been sleeping like a bear, this guy.
Getting up, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, even 6 o'clock.
I just do this where I wake up and I try and get up early because I want to try and stable some sort of have some sort of stable routine. But on the other hand, I get to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm thinking, could do with a nap, and then I'll fall asleep and then I'll be asleep till about 4 or 5, and then I'm like, oh man, it's 5 o'clock, I'm awake again, so I'm up all night. It's just crazy sleep patterns at the moment. I'm sure pretty much the rest of the UK can relate at this. Most of the world. Yeah, most of the world can relate to this at the moment. But a lot of countries going back, so that's good news, and getting their economies kick-started and whatnot again. So it's all getting there, I suppose. Can't say we're over the worst yet, but there we go. But I'd like to say a big welcome to all of the listeners who have joined us today. Hey, hi, I'm talking to you. You know who I'm talking about. Well,
that one over there.
Him.
Yeah,
I see you. Yeah.
Yeah, put it away. Keep listening.
Yes, good call. Good call indeed. Well, yeah, we're thanks for joining us, repeat offenders and new listeners. It's always good to have you along, and we've got a pretty interesting show tonight as well. We're going to be talking about, you might have noticed if you're watching on YouTube that, we've got the beautiful Yellowstone Park behind me. And a bit of a clue into what we're going to be talking about today, because today we're going to be talking about super volcanoes. Ooh, yeah. It's actually, you might think super volcano sounds pretty fucking something like out of a movie, but generally speaking, then they do exist. Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of them as well, surprisingly more than we thought there was.
We'll be looking into those a little bit later on. There's going to be it's not just Yellowstone that has super volcanoes, though. There are a fair few. And this is, but it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. I think it's just out of Wyoming. And the country itself's just stunning. But Yellowstone Park, it just as a wonder, is beautiful. And the colours and the textures. Yeah, totally. Everything about the place. I mean, it's just a stunning piece of landscape. Yeah. I think, it's one of those places that I'd love to visit. And since I've been doing the research on this show, this is what was actually made me fall asleep the other day, because I was watching a wildlife documentary about Yellowstone Park, and it was so soothing. And the narrators always have these like, the bears are fighting the male for dominance. Yeah, the soft-spoken voice of the narration got to me, and I fell asleep, and I didn't catch what happened to the bears. I might have to watch the end of that at some point.
Hopefully they're still there.
Yeah, well, true, yeah. So they got baby cubs, though, and it was like making me go, oh, big rubbery one, do you know what I mean? I was like, baby cubs, bears. Oh, no, yeah, but there's a lot of wildlife and a lot of other stuff. But, like, we'll be talking about super volcanoes. We'll be talking about the actual what's going on, because there's been a lot of kind of speculation in the media about ticking time bombs and whether Yellowstone's due for an eruption. We're going to look at it, we're going to dissect that shit, and we're going to see what the crack is, and then hopefully by the latest results, maybe by the end of the episode we'll have a bit of an answer to know what's happening. Is it going to erupt? Is it not? Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, so we'll go down those roads in a bit, but normally we start the show with a bit of a chat and a bit of a talk, and then we always go into our segment, what's fucked up where you're from. And this week, we haven't got one. Because, well, firstly, nobody messaged us and asked if they could participate this week, which is a big boo, right? Yeah. So if you want to get involved, right, you can email us at neverstraightanswer@gmail.com. and we'll get in touch. We'll check into your area and we'll see what the crack is. But also, we did promise last week that we would deep dive again into the Darwin Awards. Yeah.
And that's what we've done.
So that's exactly what we've done. We've got a couple of stories from the Darwin Awards. There is only one winner of the Darwin Awards, really, isn't there, though?
Yeah.
But if you don't know what the Darwin Awards are, it's an award given for stupidity. Yeah, for not being able to contribute to the gene pool, and basically it's an award given for people who die in a most ridiculous way possible.
Yeah,
and
waste of space.
We looked at 2018's, we didn't do last year, so we're going to have a look at this year. I don't think the results have been published for 2020 yet. Because
I wouldn't have thought so by now.
Not yet, so this...
Plenty of time for you idiots to go out there and kill yourselves.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So this is probably the up-to-date chisel. So anyway, so this week we're going to be looking at that. First story we've got is one about a pilot, and it was confirmed as true by Darwin back in October. In the United States, there's a sizable chunk of the country, that people want to fly over, right?
Yeah.
So when people purchase planes, they sometimes go to the opposite side of the country to buy a plane, because at the end of the day, it's a plane, you can fly it back home,
Yeah, exactly,
It's like buying a new car. It doesn't matter where, as long as you can get there, you can drive the car home, can't you?
You just want to get in it and drive it.
Exactly, and it's your new toy, so he's probably wants to fly his plane straight home. Well, Patrick,
midlife crisis
how
time.
they do it, they just hop airports, refueling in each, and then just arrive at your home airport and then park up, so.
Yeah.
A pilot called Patrick, who was 52, was up to the task of hopping his new plane home. He was a licensed pilot, he had done over 10,000 hours of flight time, and he was instructor certificated, So what could go wrong? Do you know what I mean? What could
He can't be stupid.
No, it sounds pretty fucking reasonable already. Well,
sensible, he's passed all the tests.
During the first two takeoffs and climbs, right? So obviously he's got to one airport, he's fueled, he's gone for another takeoff. Second takeoff, he started to notice something wasn't right. And basically, loads of fuel, aircraft fuel, was sloshing around his feet, right, in the cockpit. So he was like, what the fuck? So when he got to the third airport in Missouri, he called up the mechanic familiar with this type of airplane, right? He described that he'd had issues of some sort of fuel leak, and the pilot told the mechanic he had he had to have someone inspect the fuel system, right?
Yeah.
So,
sensible thing to do.
Well, they didn't find anything wrong, right?
It must have been something.
So, well, that's what they're saying. They're saying that they didn't find anything wrong. The mechanic, however, wasn't buying it, and responsibly enough, he said, don't fly it until they've worked out what the issue is, right?
Yeah, probably so.
But because the pilot, Patrick, he was like, well, you've not found anything wrong with it, and I just want to get my plane home, to be honest, right?
He's not thinking of his safety.
ignored it, right? The pilot didn't listen. He basically took off, and even though the mechanic recommended that he shouldn't fly it, because of health and safety and stuff like that, and then obviously with the electrical system, didn't want to. So he basically turned the electrical system off, so it didn't affect any fuel or fuck anything up. But he didn't think it was trustworthy enough to take up, let him take off. But anyway, he told in no certain circumstances to fly the aircraft, but that didn't stop the chap who basically took off, and wow, there you go.
And was a dick.
Fucking hell. Well, what, you can't say more than that, can you? He took off, didn't listen to the mechanic. I've got another one here. A rhino poacher killed by an elephant and eaten by lions.
And eaten by what?
Eaten by lions.
Yes, mate.
Now this guy gets what he gets, man. In April 2019 in South Africa, it makes a funny headline, but it's no laughing matter, right? An elephant trampled and lion ate it, yeah. But so the poor rhino, basically, he went out looking for rhinos, for some rhino horn, and therefore he was on a poacher hunt and killing big, beautiful animals. Basically, the human was greedy for money. Some rhinoceros species are basically going extinct, and obviously, he's a big dickhead for doing it. But yeah, so he was. He was out there looking for rhinoceros, got trampled by an elephant in the process, and then whilst he was obviously trampled to death, lions got him and ate him.
And all three endangered species.
They were just fucking slightly getting. That's a big fucking. What's it?
That's one.
That's justice. That is fucking justice, if you ask me.
Yeah, one.
Well in.
But there should be more justice. You should be fighting back.
That's instant karma, if you like. Yeah.
That's a laughing matter.
It is. I mean, I think that is worthy of what's it?
He tried it. He failed. He died and ignored the consequences of his actions from the beginning.
All right, here's one for you. 2 Texans die trying. Right, 2019. These were a 2019 Darwin Award winner, confirmed to be true. In the 24th of May, 2019, ill-fated curse basically was on South. What was it? Hang on. So 2 men, 32, aged 32 from Texas, and one of them aged 23. They were on a Chevy cruise, basically on the Black Bayou Bridge in Texas. A man engaged and pushed up the safety gate on the drawbridge. His second mistake was to jump back into the car and drive rapidly to the open drawbridge ramp, shouting, shoot the gap, right? So basically, they thought they were fucking Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, and he fucked up.
So you obviously can't live long if your IQ is higher than if fucking that low. But fucking these are double Darwin winners, because obviously they fucking tried to jump a chasm and fucking failed. There you go. But the big winner of the Darwin Awards 2020. Yeah, and I heard this a couple of times back in 2019 actually. Was a man who booby-trapped his own house. Yeah. So main man booby trap. He basically got boffed by a booby trap. A 65-year-old man called Ronald Clay was shot dead on Thanksgiving evening because basically he set up his own booby trap to protect his family jewelry. Right. So he reckons that that somebody was trying to break into his home. Yeah. So he sets up a fucking elaborate DIY booby trap, a bit kind of like fucking Home Alone. Yeah, right, with pulleys and whatnot, right? forgot. I don't know what he did. If he forgot that it was operational or what, but basically, he walked into the room and basically got a bullet in the head. Right, when I slam this door, it'll shoot a bullet. Yeah, so basically this is what has happened. The man rigged up a handgun trigger to pull when the door was opened. This and other booby traps were installed about the property. But yeah, thankfully no harm came to any random passerbys. But however, the homeowner himself, who accidentally triggered the discharge of a jury rifle, of a rifle that was in position, he wins the Darwin Award.
Yeah, right.
We
oh
salute
shit!
you.
What about emergency services went in afterwards?
This is the thing, isn't it? Because obviously people had to go round the house afterwards, but I think the main one was aimed at the front door. If anyone come through the front door, it was a full-on fucking gunshot to the head, and I don't know.
I think he didn't realise it was around him.
I don't know. I really don't know how you could do that and then forget. Do you know?
Well, he's obviously hasn't realised there's a round in there, and he's thought, I'll test it.
Just to make sure the trigger fires.
Yeah, the trigger fires, and he didn't realise there was a bullet jammed or something.
I say he had a fair few fucking rigs set up in his house, so I kind of think that's a bit suspicious, to be honest. Like, why he felt so strongly that somebody was about to steal his stuff?
You know what I mean? Well, he might have been told.
He might have.
And he's gone, right, you know what?
Thanksgiving as well, it's a shame, innit? When it's like a holiday. No one likes tragedy on holidays. Do you know what I mean?
No, but if you're an idiot, you know, we all like it.
Oh, I think my favourite's the guy eaten by lions and trampled by elephants. Yeah. But generally speaking, this guy makes it to being a winner, because obviously that is just horrendous. If you're gonna there'll be people out there though. I mean, there's a lot of kind of mad things going on about people just taking the piss out of the cats and dogs at the moment and doing pranks on them, and setting up little booby traps and things around the house, to trick the pets.
I've heard of the good one to do with your kids.
Go on.
When all this crisis is over and that, you turn around and tell the kids that, you know, all that time that you had off, 7 days a week now.
You got to pay it back.
You got to pay it back. And watch the faces.
I've seen a few where they've gone, April Fool's Day was the best one, because there was so many videos of kids getting dressed in the uniforms, getting in the car, and then the parents going, April Fool.
Right, see.
And the kids looked genuinely disappointed. They were like, I wanted to go to school. But being in the house.
Some people swap soul as well.
But yeah.
Some people like...
Some people do like school, and some people like the friends. People like socialising at school. Like, they want to see the friends again. They want to. That's why all these kids cry at the end of the last year, on year 11 or whatever, when they're all crying their eyes out, getting each other to sign the shirts, because they genuinely like these people. You've gone through however many years of schooling with them, and some people go on and be friends afterwards, but when you're that age, it's your bloody world, isn't it, really? So, I mean, you get trapped away from them and you can only, do FaceTimes or whatever. It's not the same, is it? You know this. We're doing it now. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not the same.
No.
Saying that, though, the listeners get a good experience out of it as well, though. So, So, every cloud has a silver lining. So, so what do you reckon to the Darwins? Do you think they deserve what they get? Any particular favourites?
I did like the elephant one. I did like it that it was the endangered species that actually got him back, and the fact that he obviously walked out there thinking, "Bam, I've got this.
I'm off for some rhino shit. I'm getting some rhino."
Yeah, I'm definitely getting something at the end of the night, and it's like, agree.
You're getting something, bro.
That's all you're getting.
It's not going to end well. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that trap one, who won the whole lot. But there's been a number of them. You know what I mean? There's been quite a number of them.
Yeah.
So I would have said the elephant one should have been a winner.
Maybe they all win in their own right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I think that in previous years there has only been there can only be one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that many people died stupidly that they gave they gave more out this year. So
there's more idiots, more people. So
if you're
there's bound more idiots.
You can't save them till next year, can you? So you
That's
gotta
true.
give them it. So there you go. If you die in a stupid way, you could be a potential winner of a Darwin Award. There you go.
But we don't recommend you doing that.
We don't aim to try and win a Darwin Award. That's all. Oh God, I've got the podcast burps tonight. I don't even know why.
Oh, I can smell that.
Sorry, fucking hell.
Stink.
So, have you got anything else you want to add to that? Before we move on,
I thought that was. I thought it was good. Yeah, man.
We've got quite a big topic tonight. Like I say, it took me a whole fucking lifetime to write. So,
you had your little sleeps in between. Yes.
In the news.
17 pages this week?
Yeah, no, 11 pages today. Yeah. That's all the pages. Not front and back, but doesn't matter, does it? Well, super volcanoes, not just a normal volcano, superish. It's a super volcano. Volcano Plus. Yeah. Now,
a world killer.
A global killer. Yeah. So, do you know why they were called super volcanoes in the first place?
No, go on.
Well, there was popular culture that did it. I mean, it wasn't a case of that, they were called super volcanoes because they're just amazing. It was a case of that they were firstly super eruptions. So the coined phrase super volcanoes came from that, but it was more popular culture and media that did that. It wasn't based in any sort of scientific route. But the name has stuck, and obviously now we do refer to them as super volcanoes. But it just does make it sound a lot more impressive than, I mean, they're not impressive because they're fucking pretty impressive things. Now, we couldn't actually tell you that for sure because in the whole span of human existence, we've never witnessed one. And but that's not to say that they don't exist and they're not active underneath the earth, which is really interesting, yeah. So most people, when you think super volcano, you think of Yellowstone Park, and perhaps the most, active super volcano there is. But there are a few dotted around the world. One being, is it Lagaria Caldera, just outside of a town called Creda, southwest Colorado. And it's said to have been the largest volcano eruption on Earth in Earth's history. That one, the largest volcanic eruption ever produced on the planet, right? And it's supposed to have happened around 28.1 million years ago, and it's only basically, and it basically that's when it erupted. So ever since then, but the only reason why you can kind of still see it is because of the caldera, like the plains or the dip in the landscape, So the geologists know that there was a volcano there at some point. So, but that was probably the largest supervolcano that Earth's ever produced. Another couple are Lake Toba.
North
Sumatra.
That's it.
Then you've got the Cerro Garuncha, is it? Yeah, that was the next biggest.
In Bolivia.
That's in Bolivia, yeah. And then obviously you've got the Yellowstone caldera.
Interesting about them two is that they both got volcanoes within it. One's got 3 and one's got 4.
Yellowstone's got basically 3. It's blown in 3 different locations. But then that kind of goes to when you start thinking about the magma chambers. And how kind of like the underneath the ground it's moving. It's not always kind of a stationary sort of plateau. It's like, there's movement in the ground. If you watch Oak Island at the moment, you'll know this because like you see that they've been trying to dig for an object where they think is the location, X marks the spot, but they keep missing it because they're not because underground shifts and moves objects and boulders and whatnot out the way.
Oh yeah.
So
Daily, your ground would move up and down.
Oh
like
yeah,
a wave.
totally, yeah. In fact, I'll get into that in a bit, because obviously you do see some sort of fluctuation in the ground level, especially in Yellowstone, because there's that much movement, and they do see sort of a couple of centimeters a year of ground movement. I think last year didn't move very much, but then all of a sudden it did towards the end of 2019, like November-ish. There's a really interesting guy, if you're interested in like the earthquakes and stuff that go on around Yellowstone. There's a guy who's from the Geological Survey who does a YouTube channel, and he does a monthly report based on how many different volcanoes, how many earthquakes have happened in the month, what it means.
650.
Yeah, and that's just that's just a Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's no sort of nothing to say that means the volcano is going to go off, right? Just because he's been a kind of a few earthquakes, that's normal, right? Yeah. But we'll get, like I say, it's such a fucking wide topic that, so what would you say a supervolcano means? What do you think it is?
Well, think of it as a spot on your face, right? What is a supervolcano? Yeah. Right, but supervolcano will be...
It's a really big spot on your face.
No, just like a little bit like that. I mean, like fucking out your face.
Yeah, like a big fuck off.
Yeah. Because there's weird stuff going on with our magma.
Red hot magma.
Yeah, magma.
I've got so many opportunities to say magma lines. Go for it.
But yeah, there seems to be something going on with our iron core, because there's an area around South America, the bottom of South America, around Argentina, at the bottom there. There's an area there that like satellites can't go through. The ISS has to avoid it and like turn all of its electrics off as it's going by and shit like that. There's some massive thing, and that's got something to do with the magma underneath as well. So we should be thankful that we actually have got volcanoes, because that helps
letting the pressure off, if you like, I suppose. Well, I mean, these volcanoes, but like I say, we're talking super volcanoes, yeah. So I mean, what a super volcano needs to be to classify or qualify as a super volcano is it needs to have a volcanic eruption with a volume of explosivity on the volcanic explosive index, or the VEI, of up to 8. Yeah.
Yes.
So 8's the most you can get, is the highest on the reading, and that basically translates to how much tephra and basically volcanic plumes and ash and shit and muck and fucking boulders of stuff that it fires out and spits up, right?
CO2.
The largest, gases, all sorts of crazy shit. The largest recorded value on the index of a supervolcano volcano occurred when magma basically rises to the crust, but it's unable to break through and creates pressure. That's a normal volcano, right? Whereas so with a name like supervolcano, you might think that it sounds a little extreme, but the fact of the matter is they're real, and basically but they're very well researched, and obviously, but if left unchecked, they could turn into a fucking global disaster, global destruction, devastation. Really.
It's not exactly like we've got much to stop it, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, though, like I say, I mean, I'll go more into it, but it's one of the most researched sort of fields. So you know, if it goes off next, there's no chance it's going to go off, because they've got so much scientific data from other volcanoes, from other areas and sites, that where there's one and there's another one, and I forget which the name it is, but it's on another continent, and they're basically saying these chemical changes in the rock, right, which indicates that that it's due for another eruption in the next 1,000 years, right? They still don't know when it is, but these like sort of key markers they look for on on an eruption cycle. Yeah, so they
not necessarily right,
not necessarily right, because obviously we've got to basically go off evidence and stuff like that. But there's that much sedimentary layers and rocks that they know what the effects were. They know when they did last happen. Yeah, and they can look through history at those rock sedimentary lines and say, well, we've got a big layer of ash here, so therefore we must have had a volcano. So when count back, then when do we have the next layer of sedimentary ash? Yeah. And fucking lava. And they go, oh right, yeah, it was another 64 million years before. Yeah. So then they go, all right, we can see a pattern emerging here a little bit. So they can estimate that volcano might go off every X amount of years, but that's not set in stone. It's literally an estimate. So, but you can go through all these other different avenues of scientific exploration and different data which can maybe back that up or not back it up. And eventually, and like I say, there's so much data being produced about Yellowstone in particular that if it was going to go off imminently, they'd have a bit more of a warning on it. So,
well, I don't know, because now a Swedish team has just reported in a journal that basically they've been looking at supervolcanoes and trying to find out when the next one will turn up, when it will erupt.
Right.
So they've been doing all these tests and finding out where they are and all this business, and they reckon their final report reckons that absolutely anything could set it off by just a little bit of pressure to just a little earthquake.
Totally, and this is what I was saying about potentially like the global effects of us coming out of lockdown and all the kind of COs being released into the environment all at once. Yeah. You don't know what it might trigger off, but you know, hopefully not anything that bad. Do you remember? I mean, the last volcano I kind of know about was the one in Iceland around about 2005. Which caused loads of problems, because obviously there was loads of people who got grounded because nobody could fly because of the ash clouds or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working for Manchester University at the time, and there was so many. We had a leaderboard of excuses for not paying fees due to the ash cloud, and it was hilarious because people were coming up with some of the most brilliant reasons why the ash cloud had affected. Why they couldn't pay the bill of whatever, and it was hilarious. So, you know, I mean, but the biggest...
Yeah, that's entertainment.
Exactly, yeah. So the biggest example of, you know, a volcano that has hit America, for instance, is Mount St. Helens in 1980.
Yeah.
And it was the most destructive volcano event in the history of the US. And basically that was only a Category 5 on the VEI scale. But not a super, because it only basically spewed about 5. Well, it was only scored a 5 and spewed out 1.3 cubic meters of tephra. That's the basically ash and crap that, you know, basically when it spits out like meteorite-sized magma balls into the air or whatever, just spitting out crap. Whereas the Kuwale volcano, which is just off an island, I can't remember where that one is, only has a VEI of 0, but it produces a lot of steam, even though it's got magma. It doesn't spit anything up, so it's
because it's a pressure releaser.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it literally just sits there. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't spit anything up, and it scores a 0. So, what does it need to be to get to an 8? Is what I'm saying. We've never seen an 8. Yeah, like say Mount St. Helens was a 5 on the.
You reckon on average at least once every 1,000 years? You reckon we go off?
Well, in comparison to a supervolcano that releases at least 1,000 kilometers squared of tephra in a single eruption, that's 1 trillion cubic meters of rock and ash.
Yellowstone is estimated 1,000 kilometres of ashen lava.
Well, it's funny that actually, because Yellowstone, I've got a bit about that, because Yellowstone Park, Caldera, fills Yellowstone Park. It's literally like, the borders of that volcano. So say if that volcano did go off, anyone in the park would be fucking toast, but it wouldn't go as far as your borders. Do you know what I mean? So
how do you mean?
Well, like any spill off tephra, anything that gets flung out of the actual volcano itself wouldn't really like go as far to interrupt like people where people live or businesses or anything like that. The park could be fucked, but it wouldn't really spill out. I mean, they've got that much land on the park itself that it'd probably be more about the environmental issues and the smoke and the ash, and which would literally cover most of the US, if not the world. We'd see effects of it, at least like an inch thick in the UK, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the thing on that is that you're right, because majority of volcanoes are under the sea.
Yeah, there's loads.
Now, now that's where you're getting, if you think about it, that's where you're getting quite a lot of pressure, and pressure will move up to wherever it's leading to.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a lot worse than that.
Yeah, well, you don't know.
America will be basically it will be one of massive land.
Like I say, when you think of volcanoes, you always think of like big mountainous things, don't you? Do you know, like
another ones are going off at the same time, so that's where the worst reaction will happen.
But you know, did so like I say, you might be thinking of like, up Mount Doom, trying to Frodo, cast the ring. Cast the ring from whence it came, and you're throwing it off into the fiery Mount Doom, and that's what most people think of a volcano. If I said draw me a volcano, that's maybe what you'd do. But like in calderas and super volcanoes, you're looking for something a bit different when you're doing that. I've got some examples here actually of these things. Bear with me a second.
You sound like
there we go. I sound a bit like Chris Eubank.
That's the fella.
So there you go. There's like the hot springs in Yellowstone, but you can see where the depression is. Now most of the park is actually taken up by the caldera, if you like, and it's formed after a volcano erupts, and it basically happens when obviously the hot magma from the magma chamber has basically come out, and obviously it's left the magma chamber empty, I suppose. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because it's throwing up the pressure in it, so it needs to get rid of the pressure, so it needs to throw some up, so as the water's gathering up, until you get to the top of the hole.
So it ends up with like some sort of like collapsed cavity or depression. So when they're looking for sites of super volcanoes, that's pretty much what they're looking for. It's pretty beautiful as well, though, isn't it? It's such a beautiful thing, if you didn't know what that was. And obviously you've got geysers there, hot springs, and loads of other stuff. But super volcano calderas are fucking huge. And unless you know what you're looking for, it'd be difficult to spot one. And Yellowstone Park, believe it or not, is basically, like I say, taken up by mostly caldera. 72 kilometers long and 48 kilometers wide, and yes, the volcano under Yellowstone is a super active even today, so that's something to look forward to, isn't it? The park is known for a load of geothermal activity such as hot springs, geysers, other hydrothermic features. These are due to the water being superheated underground by the rich hot magma flowing underneath the park. It's nice though. I'd love to go in one of them hot springs. Would you go in the hot spring, like chill out? Oh yeah.
No.
Why? I think you can. I think they do stuff like that where you can go and get your cosy on and get in. They must do. I'd take
because there's a place in Africa in 1986 called Lake Neros in Cameroon. Killed nearly 2,000 people.
You just reminded me, weren't they a volcano the other week, a couple of months back? just before Christmas where people actually lost their lives. It wasn't an eruption as such, but it did spit. In fact, I think a few people lost their lives in that, actually. It wasn't exactly, you know...
Oh, this was different.
No, go on. Obviously, I mean, we've not even got to Pompeii yet.
Pompeii, yeah.
Go on.
And it basically wiped out 4 villages, not touching a thing. It wiped them out, killed the total actually comes to 1,746 people, 3,500 cattle, and out of all of them, 6 were rescued inside the tunnel, and a boy and a woman survived. Everyone else died of suffocation.
They only survived using their grit, wits, and determination.
Well, it holds a lot of CO2.
Yeah,
a bubble had gone, and it had gone 60 miles an hour, killed everyone and everything within 15 miles.
Fucking hell!
Yeah, it's massive, man. But as far as I'm aware, it's the only one in the last century that's last couple of centuries that has gone off. But it's easily done. The water is still like 90% crude carbon dioxide.
I love that. It's like when you're describing an erupting volcano, you go, "The last time it went off."
When it popped, it exploded.
When do you think the last time Yellowstone super erupted?
I'd say about 600,000 years.
640,000 years ago. No humans ever witnessed anything like it. The evidence all around, though, like I say, is by analysing rock ash layers in sediment, and basically they've discovered obviously 3 super eruptions throughout history. Do you know, and 2 of which were at Yellowstone Park. One of which was the largest, which was 2.1 million years ago, and the largest would have covered the US in ash in fucking no problem. In fact, it brought on the next ice age, didn't it? The last super volcano that went off, and I think not very many people survived. I think it was only about 6,000 humans in total survived.
I think it worked out about 2% of survival rate. I think it worked out somewhere around about 2.
The last one at Yellowstone was 640,000 years, but they're reckoning, like, based on those numbers, that's why I think a lot of people think we're due one, but you can't calculate it like that. There's too many factors involved, you know what I mean?
I've just realised as well, and we've talked about this before, about the Antarctic.
Yeah, go on.
And there's issues going on in the Antarctic, isn't there, because it's melting.
Maybe there could be some geothermal stuff going on underneath hydrothermal activity. You don't know. I mean, well, there's scientists there. They should be doing this sort of testing.
More volcanoes in a 3-mile area of the Antarctic than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And it's heating up like fuck, apparently. Over the last couple of centuries, it's been heating, and it's showing that wherever it is, it's nearer to the surface. So I reckon there could be an explosion there. And with the Iceland problem there a couple of years ago, you know what I mean? That could be like, there's a little pressure rock, boom. Right, we're not going to blow fucking Antarctic yet. We'll give it, give it a little more time.
Not while volcanoes are a hot spot. And so, do you know what? Hot volcano spots are a bit of a thing, because like a lot of the media outlets have been publishing news stories about, the possibility of Yellowstone erupting, imminently, and fear-mongering and getting a lot of kind of, these, just to sell news lines, headlines, isn't it? Yeah. But basically, it's the most documented and researched volcano hotspot going. Do you know what I mean? And believe it or not, there are warning systems before an eruption. In fact, the mantle is actually moving and creating new volcanoes. Like we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? It's actually moving from the west coast, right? Creating a string of new little volcanoes, all the way to Yellowstone, and then eventually, the hot spot will move going east, and it'll take away that lava chamber from underneath Yellowstone. It'll be elsewhere, I mean, not by much, but over centuries, you know, and time, it you know, it does. What was I talking about now? So where am I up to? Anything to add up to now?
I just think it's. I'm just glad that there are volcanoes, because if you didn't, then we would have a major issue.
Well, they've got some interesting. They did some research in 2015 about you know, trying to work out the topography of, you know, the underground magma chamber, and they wanted to know what was going on and how big it was, and it's another study into how they can look into what's going on and the maybe whether it'll go off or not, right? So they start looking into this.
Come on, let's get it right. It will go off.
Well, potentially, of course. Well, maybe, but actually, no, because we'll go into this in a little bit later on, because there are maybe ways, and like I say, that heat hotspot might actually move away and create a new volcano somewhere else. Yeah.
Unless that goes off,
don't know, right? Now, so what they've done is, again, if you watch Oak Island, there's a way that they kind of test, or they can kind of like look underground using geo survey. I think they do it like a call it or something, and they basically shoot explosives into the ground using vibrations and sonic vibrations. They can basically see where these vibrations bounce off heavier and kind of denser objects, wooden objects or whatever, to kind of create a virtual map of the underground system, right? Yeah. Because obviously if it's a denser, packed, more tightly rocky area, then the sound waves are going to bounce rather than go through or penetrate, like ground penetrating radar, right? Yeah. So very clever. They've started using the seismic activity and earthquake tremors, around Yellowstone to do this, because they can measure the vibrations of the earthquake and then create a map of the underground magma chamber, So, loads of mini eruptions, and they were able to kind of get a bit of a thing, you know, an idea about what's going on, happening under there. And also, they've determined that, like, based on this evidence, that they think that supervolcanoes react differently, and that's why they erupt. So more likely to be so whereas a normal volcano, you get kind of like magma rushing into the chamber, and it creates pressure because it's like two heats colliding, cooler and it creates pressure and it explodes, right? Whereas they think more along the lines of, because these magma chambers are so big and they've got more flexibility in the walls for expansion, that it's more to do with the buoyancy of the lava and magma. So it's like this lighter materials trying to escape from this confined area, to the point where it does. So it's more a case of buoyancy. So imagine you get a beach ball and you push it under the water. It wants to pop up. When it pops up, it explodes out of the water. So that's what they think, based on this 2015 survey, that's what it could be. But basically, they have like 100. They had 126 quakes. Like eruptions, mini eruptions, since they've done the study on the park. And that's 100 and odd years they've been doing it for. Okay, so 126 eruptions, mini eruptions. Now, they don't even class the geyser as something that is a recurrence, something that happens on a regular occurrence. I think they've only had so many of those in the years that they've been looking at it, and that only happens every now and again. So, and in fact, there's one of their geysers that stopped geysering for a while and then sprung back into life a couple of
because it was on the timer, wasn't it? They timed it to whenever it was going off, and he was going off at something like 8 o'clock. This usually goes off, and then 2 hours later it go off again or something like that. And he had it for a while, and then all of a sudden, boom, stopped. And that, it was not that long ago, and he was talking about how the papers were starting to talk more about Yellowstone because
of this. This is because of the media. we're jumping in on this
because of
Yellowstone
this
ticking time bomb. It's all got, and it could be a global killer. Now that's a good segue, because what would happen if Yellowstone did erupt next week? Yeah. Well, firstly, like I said, I mean, mostly in terms of debris, instant debris, magma and kind of anything that's pumping straight out of the eye of the volcano. Is that what you call it? The mouth of the volcano?
I call it. I don't know. It's a source. If you think about it, it's a source of goodness, isn't it? Because it's within the stone, within it's got the minerals for the top of the earth and that.
Yeah, I suppose that ash would be very fertile in terms of like because I know when like forests burn down, or when there's forest fires, like Australia at the moment, what that does is it clears brush, it clears canopies. It means that all the ash falls and fertile, makes the ground more fertile. So you'll get a lot more, the forest regenerates, but you'll get a lot more ground level foliage, I suppose. So
India
it does have benefits, but not
west
at the same time, if you like.
It's basically because it gives you the carbon and all the stuff that it needs, and then just.
So we're in agreement that basically the whole Yellowstone Park would be disintegrated, really? Yeah, realistically?
Yeah.
Right? So
easily, I'd say.
That's just the tip of the eye. So, I mean, anybody who lived in Wyoming or around around the park, would be drastically affected in terms of ash coverage. There'd be earthquakes, violent earthquakes, noticeable changes in the landscape. Obviously with magma chambers emptying and sinking and fucking literally
as well as everything that's just
I mean, like Pompeii, remember we say about Pompeii, but you've seen the evidence of what it did to that town, and how it just swept through and literally covered everybody. And I mean, so ground movement, landslides, there'd be fucking loads of stuff going on, and that's just in the actual first events of it.
But all the carbon dioxide that's going to hit around the world, you're also going to upset the one underneath the Antarctic, where there's a massive amount of carbon dioxide. There is also bits of massive fucking holdings of carbon dioxide within the oceans. If you're setting them off, you're not going to fucking breathe, mate. You know what I mean? You're going to be dead sleeping.
Toxic gases. There'll be ash and glass. So the ash will contain like glass particles, which will obviously cover everything. But obviously, it can clog up rivers, streams, get into engines, grind down industry. Not to mention your health. If you're breathing in these particles of glass and fucking ash, that can give you lung failure. Then obviously, all this glass and ash in the atmosphere basically refracts light back out from us. So the sun's beating down, and this stuff in the atmosphere is refracting the light back out away from us. So I think the last time there was any sort of volcano like this, temperatures dropped by about 3 Celsius at least the next day. And this was just like one of these small time, events. Whereas if it was a super volcano, like if we said, it brought on an ice age last time, so it's going to drop temperatures. And it could even bring down rooftops of buildings, right? Because all this ash lands on a house or a shop or a fucking a garage or whatever
as well.
And it's heavy, and
all that heat and all that, it's going to melt them out.
Basically, it's disastrous, isn't it? It's not going to be a good thing, but luckily,
long lasting. I mean, you can't do long lasting because, like you said, the clouds.
It would fucking seriously be a bad day, wouldn't it? A
bad day.
How long do you reckon this would last? Do you think it would bring on another ice age in terms of like the
unless we've got underground places that would be taken by it, and that we've got long lasting amount of food, and I'm talking like about 200 years, if not longer.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Agriculture would be absolutely screwed.
Yeah, devastated.
No sunlight. No sunlight.
Yeah.
I think basically most agriculture and food supplies would run out quite quickly in that event.
Estimated 2 months.
2 months.
Estimation 2 months.
So there you go. Panic buying's not gonna not happen then, is it? Because everyone's gonna be seeing what people do for a fucking toilet roll these days.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
If it was something to those extent, I mean, would there be anywhere in the world that would be safe from it? Do you think, or do you think it'd be something that would be global?
It will be a global catastrophe. Basically, it'd be so. Have you ever seen well, no, that's going a bit drastic. Actually, I was going to say, have you ever seen the film 2012? But
fucking hell.
You don't know because nobody could start that kind of effect, because then you're going to have the effect of the moon.
Right. Okay.
You also got the effect of the moon and the oceans and stuff like that. Then you're going to have red algae starting in the oceans, so that means your oceans are poisoned.
Yeah,
you can't drink from it.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's the ecosystem's fragile, and if anything kind of fucks it up, then
it proves in the pudding of what's happening now. Look how gorgeous it is in the moment.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Even with the rain and shit.
I've got something I want to put out there later that somebody mentioned to me, and I actually think it's not a bad idea. But Taylor, I think Taylor's might argue against it, but we'll go down there in a bit. Oh,
you got to string your.
Oh, you little sugar. Well, to be honest, I mean, in terms of volcano power, I mean, there's some ideas that people think that they might be able to stop Yellowstone even erupting ever by, science, son. Using
have you ever seen Superman? Well, what happened there?
What they're thinking is using the energy from the volcano as a power plant by drilling down basically a coolant on one side, which generates steam, and then using the heat or the steam pressure that's built up to run a power. Yeah, they might do actually, but I mean, somebody came up with this idea about Yellowstone using it in that way, and that to me says, it could go either way, because if you're drilling down into a volatile area, is that not going to cause some problems? Could you hit a snag? Could you maybe, inadvertently set it off?
I've said it before, I'll say it again.
Don't go fucking around.
If you fuck with Miss Mother Nature, she will come back and she will bite hard. And she is proving it, and she will prove it.
Yeah, Darwin Award winners will actually confirm that. Yeah, if you want to get on the back end of a rhino, then fucking you crack on.
If you're going to fuck with her for a little bit. Put a couple in.
Don't fuck about at all. What are you talking about?
Because we're trying to gain future basics, and we want to continue going on and on and on, don't we? Really, that's like our basic species does. But what we do is we depend to go. Oh, we'll try this. Oh, we won't try it. We do all of it. Instead of trying that and keep it at that.
And that's what I've said about technology for ages. It's like, why can't we just roll with that one for a bit? Do you know what I mean? If it's doing the job, why do we need an upgrade? It's people want the upgrade because it's available and it's the latest on the market.
And it's also companies
they don't want to
that
buy
want
it
money.
Because it's serving a purpose, because otherwise they'd keep the last one they had. Yeah, phones, whatever, TVs. You're buying it because it's the status symbol. It's a status item. You got to go, I've got the best flat screen TV.
Money value right to the top.
Yeah, man. Well, they're not asking how good the TV is. They're asking how much it cost. Do you know what I mean? And why do you need that when the TV you had last, which works perfectly fine, still
you change one thing on it.
Doesn't. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wearing 1980s clothing. Do you know what I mean? So end of. That's my rant. Well, there you go. Super volcanoes. Anything you want to add? Anything I've missed out?
I think at the end of the day, you shouldn't worry about it, because look, natural disasters happen.
You do indeed.
We doubt we're going to see it. We've got at least another 50,000 years. We've got more chance of getting hit by a meteorite than getting the super volcano.
There you go.
Let's be honest.
Well, there you go. We've got other things to worry about at the minute anyway. Yeah. But we just thought we'd add to the mix. throw another one out there. But
else.
In fact, no. I think what we've done here tonight is I think we've reassured people that, you know, even though they do exist, that there's that much study going on them and science behind it and research and data that we'd have a plenty of warning signs and plenty of early warning if anything like that was going to happen. And, you know, hopefully...
Unlike if a meteorite hit us.
Oh, well, actually, no, because I watched something came up on my news feed where you could watch a meteorite nearly hit us. Like on... watch a live stream of a meteorite nearly hitting us.
But it won't show that until afterwards.
Yeah, until
you never get, there's one coming at you right now.
No, true. Well, like I say, in fact, that's not a NASA
At least
story,
you would with this.
You know, I told you this a couple of weeks ago about Elon Musk's SpaceX cutting the feed. When they don't normally, you know, we were hoping that once these sort of other private companies got their hands on space, and that was a big deal, wasn't it? Because there was a big deal breaker with him, because he said, "Oh, we won't cut the feed. We'll let you know what happens. We're not the government." Yeah, and then what happens? Now they're under government. They're doing government contracts, so they do what the government says. But obviously, that's another story. We'll go into a bit more because I've got a NASA story a bit later on that ties into that a little.
That ties into something I've got as well. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, moving on, shall we? I think it's time for the news.
Oops.
It's the news, and we've scoured the whole interweb looking for the fucking tastiest morsels of news for you. I've tried to keep it corona fucking free, but it's hard. So I've tried to find the best stories with you know, it's all light-eyed, all good shit. So my first story this week is a big happy birthday and shout out to fucking my hero, Captain Tom.
Yes, Captain Tom.
Captain Tom. If you don't know who Captain Tom is, where have you been living? You've been living in a cave somewhere. I need to find my photo of Captain Tom. 1 minute.
Yeah, well, if you don't know, Captain Tom raised, I think he's got more than 25 million now.
There he is. Captain Tom.
There he is, the man himself.
The guy's got a record out. Do you know what I mean? You've got Captain America. We've got Captain Tom. Basically, it's not a story because everybody knows who the guy is. Yeah, right. Yeah. But what I'm suggesting is now he's won fucking this, that, and the other. He's won. Do you know what are they called now? Guinness Book of Records.
Yes.
He's raised millions. The guy, I think we call now for a knighthood, OBE, something like that. The man's
I think a lot of people have asked for that as well.
The fucking man's a legend, and I want to put my hat into the ring there and say, give Tom a fucking OBE. Yeah, that's from me. So, Tom, I can't take me out off to you. You're an absolute legend, and you've captured the heart of the UK. You captured the heart of the world. You know, and, you know, I just want to give you a big round of applause and wish you a big happy birthday. I hope you had a great time and loved every minute of it. And who knows what's next for you. I'm sure fucking you'll get out there and do something. So, well done, Tom. Big round of applause.
Yeah.
Woohoo! You're an absolute stud.
Yeah.
There you go. So, next story I've got. Next story I've got is about a woman who she's been taking a corona treatments a little bit too seriously. This is a drink she's been drinking. She's been making a smoothie every couple of mornings. I've got the news story here. Mother of two believes that drinking this smoothie will protect her from coronavirus and boost her immune system. So, do you know? You'll never guess what's in it. What do you reckon's in it?
It looks like poo.
Well, she drinks a smoothie with a shot of sperm. A shot of sperm. She thinks it'll help boost her immune system. Tracer, 32, says that it's not. She's not had a cold or flu for over 3 years because of her, experimentation. Yeah, with the fluids, which is made. She makes her boyfriend donate it takes 3 shots a week.
Oh.
Tracy, she's a personal trainer and found a free vegan-friendly alternative method to boosting the immune system.
Oh my days.
She says that she's not had a flu or a cold since drinking it in 2017, but she also uses it on her face and it clears up her skin.
Apparently that's true.
So there you go. See, don't know these things unless you try it. You know what I mean? It's like fucking.
I knew years ago of a trainer who every day drank his own. Every day in a milkshake. It was like, what are you doing? But the science is there to say that, like, the protein's there.
Yeah, well, it's
a
high protein drink, do you think? Or, well, what do you recommend it?
What, yeah, drink your own substance? Well, I'd rather drink your own than someone else's, that's the one.
Well,
next
story, moving on. I've got a story about a house. This house, and basically was being given away for free. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In Louisiana, but nobody was interested. Nobody wants it, and basically it was because it came with a chilling story from the former residents and locals. The owners of the house are suggesting, basically struggling to try and give away the house after stories behind its haunting put people off.
I'll take it.
They cannot give it away. I will have that house. I will live.
We could have that as a studio.
Yeah, totally.
There you go.
And the ghosts, if they want to get involved in the show,
yeah,
I'd be happy for them to do so. I'm sure we'd do a few episodes on the house. Do you know what I mean? 4 bedrooms in Louisiana, was built in 1930 and has been compared to Amityville Horror House.
Yeah, even more. Yeah. Come and see our spiritual house.
Come and see me Amityville House,
yeah.
Man.
Put cameras in and shit like that.
Totally, I'd put that on the internet. Do you know, you miss it. Who wouldn't take that? That's a business opportunity in itself.
You know what? That is. Well, if no one buys it by next week, put me on for it. I'll go for it.
Well, next story we've got. It's about
rock paper scissors.
Rock paper scissors. A guy lost 500 grand, 500k betting on rock paper scissors. And he went to court to have it written off, and basically the court said "fuck you."
Because it's a contract, it's a verbal contract.
Well, that's the key question was answered by the court whether rock paper scissors was a game of chance or a game of skill. A man who bet big and best out of 3 games of rock paper scissors has been basically saved from his debt by a Quebec court. So Edmund Mark Hopper owed $517,000, which is the equivalent to £296,000, after losing to his friend Michael in January 2011, and was forced to remortgage his home to meet the costs of the court. But now the court have written the debt off. According to Quebec law, any contract for bet requires a wager to be based on activity relating to skill, a skill game, and obviously they've deemed rock paper scissors.
Nice
as a game of chance.
I wondered how you could get away with that.
But is that $500,000, 500,000?
Yeah, $500,000.
Fucking hell, yeah. And I bet the other guy's gutted. But in order to win this case, he had to remortgage his home. Yeah, so.
Oh,
I wouldn't say it was a. Do you know who he reminded me of though? Gavin. Gavin's not he's the type of guy who'll get on FIFA in the middle of the night after beers and bet whoever
verbal code
500 quid whatever, he beat him at FIFA and then lose. So and then never mind.
You got witnesses, it's still a contract.
Well, there you go. What do you reckon? Rock paper scissors. Do you reckon if he was playing Lizard Spock, he might have got away with it?
Then it might be another case. The Sheldon had put his fucking 10 cents in, wouldn't
and say that was his game.
Yeah.
Have you got any news you want to talk about?
I have actually.
Go on, I've got a couple more little stories, but we'll go into them.
Well, have you heard about these 3 videos that come out by the US for of UFOs?
Oh, yeah, I have indeed, yeah. I was going to talk about this in NASA news, but it was like, basically, the Pentagon's just come out and gone, yeah, we don't know what the fuck these are either. You know, when they said, but the thing was, how I came across it was I seen a tweet from the Pentagon going, we've pretty much just said UFOs are real and no one gives a shit.
Yeah, basically, but it went further than that. Because then Japan's defense minister put his 10 cents in and asked the US department for advice, because under their law they have no UFOs. They have never seen a UFO.
Really?
No one has never ever seen a UFO. Yet one of the biggest UFOs against the plane cases was in Japan.
Right, okay. Yeah. I think we're going to be talking about this in a coming up episode as well, aren't we? Question.
Keep your eyes out.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe and get onto that.
So now they're saying, oh no, we've never had nothing like that around here, and then all of a sudden they're going, well, America, I know you have, and now you've started to open up a bit. I think they're basically going over and saying, what should we do? Should we do the same?
Should we basically own up about the UFOs? Yeah. I mean, I reckon Japan's probably got quite a lot. If they've apparently never had a case, then I should imagine that they've got a lot of paperwork on cases they actually have had. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, military from now, military air pilots, if they have any kind of report, would have to report it now.
Okay.
Apparently they didn't have to report it beforehand.
So if they saw something out in the sky, they'd just be like, I didn't see nothing.
Yeah, that's the US fucking playing games again, isn't it?
Maybe.
That's probably what they
thought. Yeah, maybe. That's what they thought, yeah.
Well, no, they're like
interesting.
There has been a number of cases, and like, I guess you'll find out in the coming weeks.
Right.
But with that as well, China has thrown the American battleship fleet out of its so-called waters in the last couple of days. I think it was Monday, US battle fleet went into the South China Sea, which was legally allowed to do this. And then they did it on the Tuesday, and went even further, and like basically the Chinese had turned around,
and now the Chinese are saying, you're in our waters.
We're prepared for war with the West. Stop playing around, basically.
Why is it always with the West? Wait a minute. If there's war declared, yeah, right, I ain't have fuck all to do with that. Why is it all of a sudden?
But there's also investigations going on about
why are we getting involved? Of course there is, yeah. And now, obviously, America's has basically said the WHO were China-centric, and that, you know, there's a big sort of cover-up and where this virus has come from. Now, that's fine, yeah, do your investigations, but in terms of publicly kind of, I mean, until you get the investigation, you can't really say one way or another. Let the investigation, you need an independent investigation to look into,
the question, though, is
right? It? And then you get an answer from that. Yeah, you can't go in just accusing before you've had all the facts, and certain people do that, yeah, whereas certain other people, like you've got your Australian Prime Minister, who agrees, yeah, and agrees that there needs to be an investigation, and agrees that the WHO might have, held some evidence back, or China has held it back from the WHO, yeah, right, maybe that's the case, because I'm not being funny. I mean, the WHO have done a lot of fucking good in the world, right, over the years. They don't get very much budget. They work on, they don't just work on fucking this. They work on AIDS. They work on fucking other epidemics around the world. You know, it's like they do a lot of different stuff. And I think
the issue with the WHO is basically there's other agencies in there.
Right. Well, they do it on they basically got the budget of a one US small hospital, right, a year, right, and they have to do all their stuff on that, right. So, you know, they're doing what they can. And to be honest, this is unprecedented. So you can't. They've got to do
don't
what
get
they
me
can.
wrong.
and get the evidence from wherever, here, there, and everywhere. I mean, I'm not defending or thingy, but what I'm saying is, it's like Australia are doing it the right way, whereas they're opening an investigation and doing it in a more diplomatic way, I think, going down a route where they're saying, right, okay, well, we believe there's something untoward gone on, so we'll wait until our investigation comes through and then we'll act upon that. Yeah, no one's going to war with anyone until we've decided or got that evidence back. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it seems like it's in the box at the moment with that.
Question comes on that then. Right, because there are a number of countries at the moment saying that they said some sort of China and they've done it all wrong or whatever, and they're doing their own investigations. Right, with that, what do you think would happen if it turns out they did hide it for a lot longer than you should have?
Then you cross that bridge when you come to it, but you can't.
What do you reckon?
What happens if we point fingers and accuse, and then it turns out to be from the wet market, and it turns out to be an actual occurrence, and you've created a war type situation where there needn't be one. So then you've got more lives lost because you're sending the fit people who haven't got the virus into fucking war or whatever. Yeah, it's not a case of that it's unnecessary. Do you know what I mean? Until you've got the evidence to support.
The economic war.
Well, it's a big factor.
The economic war.
Well, what I'm saying is.
Well, they're threatening. They're threatening the USA. Don't bring back the Cold War.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different sort of arguments going on with China at the moment, which is the 5G conversation. Obviously, with everybody pointing fingers in that arena, it's called into question whether the UK wants to go down the road of using Huawei's 5G network. And, you know, China have turned around and said, well, look, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but they've invested money into, you know, infrastructure over here. They've invested money into warehouses and spare parts and all the rest of it that we would have needed if we would have gone with our 5G network. So if we turn around in the future and go, nah, we don't want it, they're going to be pissed. Yeah,
is that why you think the electricals going for?
Maybe that's why I think if you've been having technical issues with electricals, internet, fucking whatever, regardless of what network you're on, recently, I mean, you could put it down to pressure on the systems and networks because everyone's at home in lockdown, but the amount of people who've said to me, oh my God, this, that and the other's not working. I had 4 separate devices all doing crazy shit at once the other day, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, so, you know, technical issues.
Taking control, man.
But the thing is, it's like we're already on that Huawei network, So it's like, and considering like that's owned by the Chinese government and it's not a corporation, Huawei's owned by the Chinese government,
Basically.
So when you think, third party getting our information, it's not a case of that we're relying on a company to, you know, not break data protection, which is a whole different ball game in China entirely. Right.
And yet they just turned around in Europe and said, don't follow
it's not
America
a company
and
that's
England.
got our third party, it's the government. Do you know what I mean? It's the Chinese government. So there is questions about the whole 5G. There's the questions about where this pandemic's originated from, and whether it was one of the labs in Wuhan, or if it was from the wet market in Wuhan. You know, now
the amount of conspiracies have just come out of one
crazy,
thing.
isn't it? And I told you this a few weeks ago, that this will go down in history as the biggest conspiracy theory ever, because there's so many avenues of exploration to, you know, and the main two seems to be both China-centric in terms of what people are choosing to believe. So, you know,
with the fingers in the cookie jar.
Yes, indeedy. So, have you got any more news stories?
I've got post from Q.
Go for
which
it.
I thought was interesting.
Can you give us a breakdown on this, though, and just give us a bit of an initiation? I'm a layman on this, so
Q movement.
Yeah. So, if anyone doesn't know what this is, give us a bit of a breakdown.
Right. Basically, on I can't remember. It was someplace like Reddit. That someone was coming out called Q was letting like little bits of information out.
So like a leak.
Yeah, but we're letting bits of information. As soon as Donald Trump got into power, right, he come the Prime Minister, the President, sorry, yeah. The Q movement started, and these posts were coming forward, and they were bringing stuff.
QAnon.
Right.
Okay.
QAnon.
Yeah.
Even in his rallies, you can see people holding Q up, and he noticed it as well. The president noticed it. There's even a belief that the president's in on it, and he could be actually Q. No one knows who Q is.
It wouldn't surprise me. He's a bit of an insatiable tweeter. So if he's got information and he's trying to drop it, what do you think he'd put "Love Trump" at the end or something?
Well, no, Q does stuff like he drops a door in front of you, and you've got to find the key to open that door. He'll leave you a puzzle to go through. Okay.
Sounds a bit fucking like what's it? What was that horror movie called? A bit Saw.
Yeah,
sounds a bit snuff, if you like. I don't know.
He's sort of a part of the alliance. He's been helping the alliance go against the deep state, and basically these informations that have been coming forward months sometimes in advance, and then they finally turn out, and stuff is happening through it. Right, and he gives certain links, but like he's basically the WikiLeaks of today, but he's got more answers.
Right. Okay.
He's really on the button on all this, and basically we've just found out that a game called Star Wars Command.
Right. Okay.
As from June the 1st, it's going to be closed down.
Why is that? Is it to do with like servers and personal information being leaked, or what? I mean, because I know they did something with Angry Birds a while back.
Worse than that.
What's happening?
Right, basically the CIA and the FBI have been catching avenues of how the cabal have been talking to each other.
So they've been using Star Wars games?
They've been using Star Wars games, yeah. Right, so they've been basically forced to close it down, yeah. But interestingly enough, the company has just got a brand new investor.
Okay, Disney.
No.
Go on, who?
George Soros.
Right. Okay.
And he's invested $45 million into it.
Into what?
Into the company, into Activision.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So the person who makes the Star Wars game, basically, who also make a lot of different other games as well. We play. And to be honest, didn't they just give away a big free game, Activision?
Yeah.
The whole world's playing at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, last year...
We only did an episode about subliminal messages last week, so, you never know. And if you did manage to work it out, then let us know in the comments, because I don't know if we got asked the question last week, as if, I don't know, and whether we use subliminal messaging in the episode. I don't know. Do we look like the type of people who do that? You work it out. Anyway.
Well, surprisingly enough, Xbox last year had a problem, and the reason why the problem was actually because of the cabal. Because they've been using the Xbox for passing information across.
Xbox Live.
Yeah. He was like, what the fuck's going on here? And basically the CIA and FBI are trying to close all avenues which go on lads and girls, go on people. But then another story come out from Q-Post, which was, you remember the Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, who went to court over the Russian scandal on the election. And then he basically went to the judge and said, "I'll plead guilty if I get, lesser sentence and stuff like that." And so he pleaded guilty. Now, it's turned out, apparently, according to Q, that he might come back into the White House.
Oh, yeah, get his job back.
Yeah, because it looks like he has a letter that was sent to him by, don't quote me on this, I've got to double check on this, from the FBI, saying that they had something on his son. Right. If he doesn't admit guilt or admit it in court, his son gets done.
For him, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this letter's come forward, and it looks like that it might be he might be going back into the position that he was beforehand, which was National State Advisor.
Right.
So
go to court, plead guilty on a crime, but then still go back to a state-appointed.
Yeah, because he had to. He was told he had to, or his son would go to prison.
Yeah, well, no, but the public don't know that. Do you know?
Well, this is why it's coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. And when it's coming out through leaks, it just makes it look shiftier than it already is. Do you know? Because it's been covered up or been tried to. You know,
put it this way, I'm keeping my eye on it at the minute because there's going to be such an explosion of information that will come out in, I'd say, within the next 3 months, hopefully sooner, but things are happening right now that are actually working on the benefit of humankind.
Humankind! I've got, I think, a couple of humankind sort of stories. One of which somebody put to me yesterday, and I thought about it, and I thought, do you know what? It could have its benefits, right? And what the idea was to maybe go on lockdown once a year. You know, have a week where it's family time, and you know you're not travelling around, and you're not using public transport, and you know you can't argue that the state of the air smells sweeter, the sky's bluer. At the minute, wildlife's coming back to areas where we've driven it away ages ago.
Yeah, but you know why it ain't going to happen?
What?
Because it's one simple thing. The reason why it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it's always down to money. Yeah, and the thing is, but it's obviously we've seen the beneficial side of it. We've seen.
Yeah, but we haven't seen the worst of it yet in the economy.
Well, true though, but I mean, like you said, it's all about money. It's all about the green. So it's like we're talking green issues now. It's not green as in green paper. It's green issues, and there's a big emphasis on green issues at the moment and things we can do. We're on a tick. You're talking ticking time bombs in terms of environmental issues. Apparently. We're the last generation that can do anything about it, right? That's what we're being told week in, week out about the environmental green issues, right? Carbon footprints and all the rest of it, yeah? Well, we've just seen a drastic improvement in everything in terms of the ozone layer repairing itself, bluer skies. I saw loads of butterflies. I walked in the shops, saw fucking so much wildlife. It was amazing, yeah.
Even flies and insects are getting back into the... Because we're having a problem with getting insects dying out down there.
This is the point I'm making, right? We've given nature a bit of a time off. If we're going to be able to, do this and be the last generation to fucking make a difference, then is it too much to ask for to go on a bit of a lockdown once a year for a week or a long weekend? Well, mate, it's bits and pieces, isn't it? It's a break, a little break, and you do that once a year, every year for the next however many years. All those little breaks hopefully might add up to something, but at the end of the day, doing nothing and just fucking hoping that it'll all sort itself out.
It does work. I'll tell you why it does work, because we've got the sort of same agreement with China. Right, China's got until this year, right, to do whatever it wants, basically, under certain terms. We have to get rid of a certain amount of CO2, so does every other country. The amount we get rid of doesn't compare
to
what they put in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another
so
problem with China.
We're doing it, and they're not. What's the point of doing it? Because we've got to be all on board, and we're not.
Well, exactly, but hopefully once those laws change. I mean, they use a lot of. I mean, like I say, China's a big gold producing country. It doesn't have any gold, so therefore they smelting plants pumping all this toxic shit back out. Yeah, and you know, they're not asked because it's money, it's economy. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. They're thinking the West has just got a big push ahead. We're trying to get a big push ahead, right? Sweet.
Yeah.
But then
we've changed all the laws by that point because you should learn by lessons, do you know, and it's like we've done it so they don't have to.
Yeah.
Do you know what
if
I mean?
anything, we should downgrade while they stay at a stable level.
Well,
that's how we should work.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about like the balance of it all because it's like obviously a balancing act in terms of, like you say, if they're doing, you know, pumping out so much chemicals and we're trying to cut back, then it might balance and offset it, but it might not. They might just feel like they can get away with it and do it. And like you say, then what is the point?
Yeah.
You know, we need to be all on board. But I mean, in terms of kind of like a good idea, I think it'd make me feel a bit better, to be honest. But you know, there you go.
Well, and to be honest, I don't think our generation could do it now. I think our generation have been too laid back. How many years have we turned around and said, "Oh, we'll do it tomorrow."
Well, that's the thing about this lockdown as well, because you've got so much time, yeah, and no one's pressuring you.
Everyone could do it right now.
Well, yeah, but on the other, that's the point. It's like I know a lot of people who do it, me included, where I'll go, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got no deadlines. There's no deadlines at the moment. It's like, well, when you get round to doing that job, then it's down to you. So there's a lot of people going lazy. You know what I mean? You've got to watch. You've got to get out of. Don't fall into the lazy pit.
Yeah, I'm falling into it.
I've got another story here about somebody social isolating. Basically here.
Whoa, yeah, I'm isolating there. Fucking hell. I bet it's nice and cozy though.
Absolute no choice. Man forced to isolate alone in a ghost town with a murderous past, and he's obviously been snowed in as well. Yeah. So Brent Underwood says he's definitely socially distancing after being trapped in a remote town, and he says it seems to be haunted. The man bought a ghost town with a sinister past, and basically was forced to quarantine there after a snowstorm fell, and he got left there trapped. It looks a bit kind of like the Overlook Hotel, doesn't it, from a distance?
Yeah.
Like
I reckon it'd be nice and cozy though.
Well, like I say, it probably would be cozy, but I mean, it's wooden shacks and shit, mate. I don't know how cozy you'd be. You might be freezing your ass off. But the fact
you make it cozy, man.
He told the news that he had arrived during good weather a month ago, and then obviously just before the shit hit the fan, there was a bad snowdrift. He said he got up one morning and woke up that the snow had covered his truck, and he thought, shit, what have I got myself into? The man managed to calm himself down the following day and decided he'd go use the time here productively, try and do his ghost town up. But having bought the Fortuna silver mining town for 1.1 million UK pounds, which is 1.4 US dollars in 2018, he basically left it to the caretaker of 21 years to look after. Several people have basically said that, you know, it was haunted, but since he's been on the property, he definitely can confirm that he thinks that it's haunted as well. So I just thought that was quite a little interesting one. But imagine that. That is
isolation, man.
That's social distancing.
You know what? I'd take that as an isolation.
But yeah, there's worse places to be socially distanced. Do you know what I mean? But to be fair, you're probably less likely to catch any lurgy out there.
That's true.
So yeah, there you go.
That's true. You might have a bit of common cold, but snowing in it.
I've got one more Corona story, and this is about a 93-year-old Facebook appeal that went viral.
Hey!
I need beer, cries a 93-year-old woman. Several people basically managed to get Olivia, who lives in Pennsylvania, some booze. But she was basically staying at home to protect herself against coronavirus.
Does she know how to make her own?
3-year-old had a big problem. She was running low on booze. So the best way she knew to basically get supplies during the coronavirus lockdown was to get relatives to, to sort it out or get creative. So she did this, and now it's gone viral. So she stood at the window.
Now she's got big galore.
Yeah, I bet she's got fucking loads now. I bet everyone's sending loads of tins, especially cause. So the pensioner from Pennsylvania was pictured holding a whiteboard that said, "I need more beer," in one hand and a can of Coors Light in the other. Check her face. Nice. She's awesome. So yeah, that's my news for this week. Have you got any NASA news?
There's been a lot of talk about square boxes in photos that are coming out, of the sun.
Oh, right.
Of square boxes being next to...
Like, what do you mean, crafts? Of
some
description?
Now, apparently NASA's coming out saying, it's just, a little technical error that, if you watch the sun, you'll see, the radiation come through and spark through.
Right.
They're saying it's that, but evidence shows that actually, as the size of a planet, it's definitely there because it's there for hours.
So you think
it's not just there for a couple of
something's there
snaps.
because there was like a load of stuff. We've covered ships that use plasma fuel.
Yeah.
So like they fly into my suns so they can kind of draw plasma energy so they can power themselves. I mean,
I also know
go on.
that NASA actually covers up by squaring off.
Oh,
so there's something there.
Yeah.
But they've squared it off.
Probably pixelated it off so you can just see a square pixel, rather than whatever object was there. Now, I talked about Elon Musk and SpaceX. Obviously, you might have seen them go up into space. There was a string of satellites that went up recently.
Right.
Did you not see them?
Apparently, it went singular and for a bigger gap than.
Well, they were pretty impressive. They've gone up, but during the launch, a cigar-shaped object was seen. They got the feed. Now, there's been a bit of a surge in stuff outside our planet recently, hasn't there? Well, based on what we're seeing on the media, and now the media have come to our way of thinking and decided that it's newsworthy after all. Yeah. It seems to be more and more coming out. Do you think we're on the verge of seeing some sort of revelation in that respect in the coming years?
Yeah, hoping so. With Trump getting rid of the pursuers and new
the Space Force. Yeah.
Then we've got a lot of people looking more up to space and what we're going to do. We're trying to get to the moon and then a space station and all that kind of stuff. We're still talking that, and more countries are talking. We're going to do more space stations, and we're going to go. And more countries are actually going out there. Mm-hmm. So there's evidence to say that we're
potentially, we might come in contact with something.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
they're still trying to hide it.
But based on this, what they put out the other day, these 3 videos, which were basically just like pilots tracking objects, going, "What the fuck? What the hell is that, man?" We've seen loads of those types of things. We want to see some high def fucking imagery.
Yeah.
If you're the government and you're going to release that stuff, well, why can't you release the stuff that we want to see rather than just... I mean, this isn't the next step up from seeing grainy footage. All you're doing there is basically saying you agree that we don't know what this is either. Yeah, and all you're doing is basically telling us nothing. You're saying, look, we've got this video, we've tracked something, it's a UFO. Yeah, and that still suggests that it could be Earth. It could be something from Earth that they don't know about.
We've definitely got something. We have definitely got something.
But the thing is, it's the way they move. It's the way they move, man. It's not right. It's that's why they kind of come out as, well, we don't know what this is because we can't even tell you what it could be based on how it's maneuvering. So That
You would have thought it was a drone,
leave
wouldn't
it to
you? Even a
UFO.
drone can't do that now.
Well, drones are fucking fast, but I mean,
Yeah,
are they faster than?
They won't be able to last something like that.
I don't
How
know.
you see objects. If you really go and have a look at the objects, the way they move around, their speed and such. I wouldn't say agile, but such like.
Well, yeah, it's agile. It's on a sixpence. You can
I think it's beyond agile.
Yeah. It's,
you know what I mean? It's
otherworldly.
It's sort of like on the basis of what the fuck we couldn't do that. Well, you know what I mean? But we know we could do that, but we can't because of our body structure.
Now I'm getting all burpy and hiccupy. Well, last little thing I want to say before we run out of time is tomorrow. As of recording today, it's the 3rd of May, and tomorrow, May the 4th, be with you. May the 4th. And it's Star Wars Day. So I think that's what I might be doing. I might be chilling and watching the Star Wars.
You know what? I might do that.
I've got them out better to do.
A bit
of Star Wars trilogies on. Start from beginning there.
Well, I might go get see
all available now. So yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. But I think I'll be sending out some Star Wars love over on social media tomorrow to catch that.
Gruber, you're getting it first, son.
Gruber's getting it. Gruber this
time.
When the new series came out and there was that traumatic bit with Han Solo, and I'd not seen it yet, and people are cunts when you could. Sorry about the language, but they warranted in this situation. So I'd not seen it yet, and Gruber went to see it the night before me. Came in and he was trying to wind me up, giving me spoilers, but some of it was bullshit, and then he said one thing, and I was going to see it that night, and I was trying to ignore it and trying to pretend that he didn't say anything, and when it happened, I just went, because I couldn't enjoy it, but whereas my friend had the reaction that I wanted, that, oh shit, whereas I was like, I know, so I've never let him live it down, so at midnight tonight, he's getting it before he gets us.
We're getting it on your fucking order.
You'll have it. So sending baby Yodas till 3 in the morning.
Good idea.
Yeah, good one that. So pretty much got some shout outs and a few questions from listeners. If you're interested in a bit of that action.
Yes.
Well, big shout outs for our Patreons first of all, because if obviously more so at the moment than any other time, because fucking hell, it's times hard. Times are hard, so thank you so much for all your Patreon support.
Yes, thank you.
Big shout out to Jesse G for being a top Patreon. Thank you so much. Shout out to Jay for just a fantastic mate and just absolute legend on Call of Duty. Big shout out to Swoosh. Oh, tiny love it large. Hope you're still enjoying the show. What that dog, boyo. Big shout out to Dunk down at the Staying In pub. the Staying In.
Yeah, can't wait to get there.
He's had a few copycats. A few people have copycatted him, and they've started building shed pubs too, off the back of his. They've seen how good of an idea it is, you see, and the fact that he's never out of the place. You know what I mean? He's always down that pub. So he's had a few copycats, but they can't beat the original.
No.
So big shout out to you guys for all your Patreon support. If you want to help us out on Patreon, you can get a big holler and a big shout out from us too. We do plugs and shout outs, but obviously Patreons come first. So and every week guaranteed. So get over to Patreon and help us out there. We've got big shout outs to Unpaid Programming Podcast. Also the Jam Stay at Home podcast, who
Jam Stay at Home, what is that time?
The Jam Stay at Home podcast. I think they've slipped the staying home bit in the middle because they started up just before the lockdown as a podcast, and then kind of couldn't really do much afterwards. So they're coming back. So check them out, subscribe. Big shout out to Inside Oz podcast, who came up with a question for us. If you were to buy a boat, what would you call it?
The Peaceful Seaman.
I like it indeed. Yeah, there you
go. What would you call it?
What would I call it? I don't know, Um,
The Kraken?
no. I'll have to think about that one, to be honest. I don't know. Fuck knows.
Off the top of your head right now.
Off the top of my head.
Not getting a boat, eh?
I'm not buying a boat.
But
But
we're
I
buying
call
it.
it Captain Pugwash's scrotum. There you go. There, off the top of my head. Thanks for the question.
Thanks for the question.
We got a shout out to basically. Oh wait, hang on. That question, I do apologise. That question was from the Jam Stay at Home podcast. Cheers, guys. Thanks for that question. The Inside Oz podcast asked the question: if you were in prison and you had to have your last meal, or you were on death row and you had your last meal, what would it be, and what would your method of execution be? Electroshock.
Yeah.
Nice and quick. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Round the nipples.
I don't know if that's quick. I'd just go like, how'd you do cows? Do that. Bolt to the head.
Yeah, I don't want to go like that. Hold on a minute. 2 bolts. Yeah, just having a chat.
Oh yeah, when they're cranking it up.
Yeah, a little bit by bit.
Giving you like 5-minute intervals.
Charge.
Yeah, give me the full on whack, please.
Yeah.
What would your meal be first?
Oh, I'd have to have a coffee. Only one kind of coffee, though.
What coffee?
The coffee that the cat poos out.
What is it? Capsum tea, capsum coffee or something?
Kappa Luca.
Hokalugi coffee that's come out of a cat's bum. You'll have that for your last meal with a spliff, I take it.
Yeah, you got to have a Bob Marley, you got to have everything
like a blunt is, you got to have a blunt and a coffee, that's him done.
No, not talking small, I'm talking people.
Maybe I'd go for like a Five Guys, everything on the Five Guys menu. Yeah,
everything on the Five Guys menu.
As well as a quarter ounce of some nice chronic, as well as a couple of litres of.
Yeah, all day, you know. They'd be like, hold on, mate, you've got about 20 minutes to eat this.
It's my last meal? No.
Yeah.
Staying here.
Yeah. We've got things to do, you know what I mean? We've got burgers to eat.
Got burgers to eat, mate. Well, thank you for the question. I'd go bolt, cow bolt.
Cow bolt?
Easy, nice and quick.
Cow bolt?
Yeah, how they do cows. I don't want to think about it. They use a bolt thing to the head, mate. It's instant, and if it can take a cow out instantly, then it's fucking going to do a good job of me, innit? Anyway, we're still fucking horrible.
In prison, I don't know if they do that in prison.
No, they should say, what would your method of execution be? I said,
well, you got gas, you got gas, you got electricity, and you've got
I'd be hung by the neck. There you go.
Hung?
Yeah.
Oh.
Reminiscent of my ancestors. I think I was hung in a past life. Not to say I'm not now, but there you go. That's another story. Hang on. Hang on, that was the wrong button.
That was the right one,
that was the right button.
Can you find the button?
There we go. So that's what she said. Anyway, we got more shout outs, Chill. We got a big shout out to Mr. Crabtree for just being an absolute legend. Shout out to Gareth. Because he's a start superstar. Hope you're keeping fucking well, mate. Big shout out to the Deep in History podcast. Absolute quality stuff. I'm sure we're going to get them on at some point as well. Big shout out to the Not So Minnesota Nice girls, Jessie G and Jen. You do an absolute grand job there, doing some absolute bits at the moment. Some top podcasts coming out. So go and subscribe. Yeah, Taylor's listening to you. I'm coming to the end of the latest episode, and I can highly recommend them. Go and check them out. The WNR pod, keeping it real. Thanks for the support. Big shout out to Well Kept and Unclean, the ENZT podcast, the Mallard Report podcast. Big shout out to Liz Reader for all the support as well. Big shout out to Captain Tom. Captain Tom. Big shout out to Susie and Chris as well. Thanks for your support. And it's definitely checking that thing out he sent me, Chris. He sent me a link to a haunted prison where they've webcammed it up, and it's going to go live on the 5th of May. So I'll send a link out over Twitter for that if anyone's interested. So watch my Twitter space for that, and we'll get it on. Big shout out to Agent Coulson. Hope you're doing well. Big shout out to Gruber. Spoilers. And everybody who's on the front line, keeping it real and doing a grand job, doing their bits to keep the country.
Keep smiling, keep your cheering self up. Exactly. And we'll get there in the end.
Oh, it won't be long now. I think we're past the worst, and it'll soon be all fucking. Imagine, just think of those parties that we're able to have. Yeah, once all this is over, mate, it's gonna freaking be a riots. Everything's gonna go woohoo.
There'll be so many you know what? Darren Ward's gonna grow.
So many people.
There'll be so many
hungover people in work. It's gonna be unbelievable. That first weekend, I think most people are gonna take holidays. Yeah, because they want time outside of the house. It's like, even though you've been off for all this time, having time off to be outside and be able to be free is a total different story, isn't it? So yeah, that's it for the show. Basically, if you want to help us out or get in touch, just get in touch and send us an email. If you want to get involved with What's Fucked Up Where You're From, you've got a topic idea, or you just want a chinwag, we'll always reply. We're nice like that.
Ask us questions.
Yeah, you can get in, just have a chat. I think we get Gareth and Mr. Crabtree always give us a chat. Come over for a chat. Liz does. You know, we're nice. Come and say hi. We're over at Twitter at NASA_never. You can email us at neverstraightanswer@gmail.com, or check out the website at neverstraightanswer.co.uk, where we have downloadable episodes, all that stuff, new stuff every week. We're also on Patreon if you want to help us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/neverstraightanswer. And we've got some new blogs coming from EJ. Big shout out to EJ as well. Who's going to be writing some new stuff for us in the next week or so, and I think you'll see some more updates on the website. So get over there and check it out. There you go. Feel out of breath now. That's
Lots there to do, keyboard.
There is indeed. There's so much to do, and you can see all our YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff. Subscribe. Make sure you smash that like button. All that stuff. It helps. Really does. Subscribe on all podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Anchor FM, Castbox, wherever you get your podcasts. And that's pretty much it from the show tonight.
And Phil, I wore this especially for you today.
Which Phil?
Mr. Linney.
Linney!
Yeah. Just for you, son.
Shout out to Phil. Right, that's it. We've got to shoot. But I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
And we'll catch you for another episode of Never a Straight Answer next week. Hopefully, maybe out. We don't know, but we'll see you soon. And we're here every time anyway, so we'll catch you later. Peace.